that I feel at this moment in time, it is appropriate to look back just a little while. Now, I remember as a boy in Southwell when there was 2 painters, 2 fishermen, and I think there were about 4 agricultural labourers, and the remainder all worked in stone. Now the same went for Weston in proportion. And similarly at Easton, only they had a greater number of tradesmen. Now there were no solicitors.
Cheers! Hooray!
None on the island whatsoever. And also, there were no citizens' advice bureaus. Now, where did these people go when they had problems? Now, the island had set up, and I suppose it was the same elsewhere in isolated cases, in isolated places, whereby people came up through the villages and the localities in which they lived and took on this job of advising the local inhabitants. It came about in peculiar ways, and the easiest way I can put it in Portland was this. There was a system in Portland. No one ever thought of going to the grammar school or going on for further education. This was not on. Father said you were in the quarry or in the stonemasonry department, that was it. But there's one thing they did have. A degree they conferred on certain people. Sid had it conferred on him when he was a very young man. And this is what it is. He's got it about him. Now, it was the only degree the island ever conferred on anyone. Now, if I can find the place and get my glasses on.
Yes, do that.
Yeah. No, well, that's a woman's institute. Now, from my earliest times, and I'm not going to dwell on the crown at all, these few verses have nothing to do with the crown at all, because it is only recently that I learnt a little about the crown, and there are men here who know far more about the court leet than ever I shall know. And of course I've known that he has been connected with the crown all his life. To the people of Portland he was known in an entirely different category. And I remember it from my earliest days. One of my earliest memories of Sid Ayles was this, before ever I knew the man. I've got to go and see Sid Ayles. I've heard that hundreds of times, and I doubt, if we were talking about records, that anybody's door has been knocked on this island or the bell rung more times than Sid Ayles. Very much. Quite early in my younger days, I heard an oft-repeated phrase. I've heard it coupled with the rates. I've heard it quoted in debates. To music set, it could have been a variation on a theme. Old Portland folk had coined the phrase, a cry for help in many ways. From Ferry Bridge to Portland Bill, it echoes round the island still. Above all else, this phrase prevails. I think I'll go and see Sid Ayles. My own remembered first hello was over 40 years ago. Was when, as registrar, he followed the birthday of our firstborn child. By then, though to himself unknown, he had a kingdom of his own. His subjects were a motley crew, made up of folk like me and you, with patience, tact, and common sense, he won their trust and confidence. A bylaw hard to understand, an unexpected tax demand, a church gift or a mortgage deed, official papers hard to read, from odds and ends down under ill to pirates active at the bill. For answers which they didn't know, they knew exactly where to go. Another time it just could be, is that Sid Ayles in front of we? I'd better have a word with ye. It's private, family business, see? When we can't manage it ourselves, we always go and see Sid Ayles. Young Jack decided he must see somebody in authority. You can't put sheds up out back door unless the plan's been passed before. Some feller over Weymouth way was very good at it, they say. When Father heard it, how he laughed. To think that Jack could be so daft. Go over Weymouth just to see a lawyer feller more fully. He'll cross the T's and dot an I, and either that they'll suck thee dry. You listen now to what I say. You go and see Sid Ayles today and tell him what you just told me. And don't forget, we'm family. Do that, and all he'll ask of thee is how his mother's gammy knee. Will had some trouble, we next door, about a lawn shed over Gore. Scroggs said the lawn shed's ploughed too tight, but Will maintained he had the right. I'll see Sid Ayles, that's what I'll do. So Scroggs replied, I'm coming too. As matching stride for stride they went, each eyed the other with contempt. Will hit his toe against a spall. This didn't help his gout at all. While Scroggs himself was in some pain, he knew his truss had slipped again. In fact, they both felt pretty sore when they arrived at Sid's front door. Both gave the knocker quite a clout. It was all in vain, because Sid was out. At different times they both came back. He treated both with equal tact, then wrote a letter to each one, informing them what should be done, and worded it in such a way that both believed they won the day. We came from Easton on the bus, the lower deck just two of us. I had a feeling undefined there was a problem on his mind. For something just to talk about, I said the honours list is out. He spoke like someone in a dream. Where to? The parish magazine? Resisting the impulse to laugh, oh no, I said, the Telegraph. He looked at me and shook his head. I'm on the electric now, he said. The conversation seemed to stall. I wasn't getting through at all. We turned the corner at Rip Lane, then suddenly he spoke again. I think myself it is a shame. They letters added to their name. Each time they wrote their names, see you, they got a lot more work to do. if I had something come like that, I'd let 'em know it. That's a fact. I'd tell 'em straight, please or offend, send something back that I can spend. He usually got off with me, but this time it was not to be. He shouted as he neared the church. His action caused the bus to lurch, and from the bottom step he yelled, I gotta go and see Sid Ayles. Quite recently, Her Majesty, a Kimberlin, yet one of we, for long and faithful service done, has honoured Sid, an island son. History repeats itself, they say. I challenge that remark today. I honestly don't think it can. That is the measure of the man.
The recording that you have just heard was made by Mr. Cecil Durston, or Skylark, as he is more familiarly known in Portland. It was especially composed to mark the inclusion in the 1978 honours list of the Court Bailiff Sidney Ayles, who, already a member of the Order of the British Empire, was made a member of the Royal Victorian Order by Her Majesty the Queen in recognition of his 60 years' service to the Crown.